Hello, everybody. This is Will Terry, and I've got Jake Parker and Lee White with us, and this is Third Thursday. And how you guys
Hello.
doing?
Hi, everybody.
So I think what we'll do is to start out, I'll talk a little bit about what Third Thursday is, and then we'll get going. So this month, November the 12th in 2015, we are meeting on the second Thursday of the month, and that's because two of us are going to be out of town next week at the CT. So we decided to move it up a week, but normally we hold this every third Thursday. Then what we do is we give a prompt, and rather than give just a word prompt, we give more of a complete narrative illustration kind of prompt. And that way, the purpose there is so that you can develop illustrations for your portfolio. Anyone can enter for free. We do 5 critiques of the images that we pick. There are 3 winners. If you win, if you're one of those 3 winners, you can't win again for at least a year, for a year. And we were doing a really stupid idea that I came up with called Top Half, but a few people kindly, and I really appreciate that, said, a better way to do it might be to call it honorable mentions. So we're going to switch to that tonight, and we're going to also give some honorable mentions. And the third thing is, why do we do this, Jake? Why do we do Third Thursday?
Wait, I'm still thinking about what's wrong with top half.
Oh, you know what? Sometimes you don't necessarily want to be in the bottom half, Jake. Sometimes you,
What's the difference between not being mentioned and bottom half?
you know what? We'll never
It's
know
just
because
semantics. It's
because
all
we're
little
not
shifts.
eligible.
I'm sorry, that completely threw me off, and that's all I
Oh,
could
did it really?
was
You were like, I was like, is his mic working? He's like deer in the
I
headlights
thought
there.
top
Honorable
half
mention
was
is just a normal way to do contests. I mean, it's something that people are familiar with already. Versus
well,
top half and bottom half, it doesn't really exist.
Yeah, you're
if
the
you
scum sucking bottom half. That's the problem. You know,
so I think that's what we should call it, the awesome top half and the scum sucking bottom
what
half.
about the awesome top
No.
half and the amazing bottom half?
Yeah,
So
how
That's
about
better. Otherwise, we're
awesome
going to
is
lose
awesome
half of
better
our
than
group.
How
amazing?
about I got a top half and the the uh unhonorable no the honorable unmentionables.
I like it.
I can think of a lot of jokes that would be inappropriate
Okay.
right now. Anyway, um, so tonight we're going to do honorable mentions, but Jake might rename it for next month. So how's that sound?
Let me just throw this out there. Let me just throw this out there. If you like top half better, voice your opinion.
Yeah, yeah,
Or if you like
That's
honorable mention, we'll get
yeah.
a
Let us know
little
yeah.
consensus.
either in
The
the
thing I like
YouTube
about
chat.
top half had like a nice ring to it. It's got the logo, the little top hat logo. Honorable mentions just sounds
The rainbow. Somebody said
Oh,
rainbow winners. Call it rainbow
everybody's
winners.
calling in. Pretty much indifferent. Nobody cares. Oh,
start.
everybody just wants to be in whatever the top group is. They just want to be in it. They don't care what it's called.
I aim, you know what? I aim to please, so that's why I was like, oh, honorable mentions. Why didn't I think of that before? That's standard op, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm
All
sorry.
right,
I'm totally throwing a wrench.
moving forward.
It's
Why do we
I'm
okay.
the
do this?
wrench.
We do
Okay,
this
why do we
to
do
give you
this?
guys real world assignments with a good critique behind it. Give you guys reasons to fill your portfolio with real world assignments because it's hard to do these things. It's easy to come up with to just draw anything, but it's hard to do these prompts, and that's why we do it
That's right.
to train you.
That's right. Number
Yeah,
four,
and
we. Oh, go ahead.
I think too, it's just like Lee was saying, like if you do it in the form of a contest, like I know when I was, even now as a professional, but when I was up and coming, I would spot a contest, and there was just something in me that wanted to be a part of that
Hmm.
too, because it's a community type of thing. So I mean, we could just throw out assignments like this is your assignment, but the fact that we turn it into a critique session and a top half or an honorable mention thing and a winner thing, like it turns it into a little bit of a game, a little bit of sport, a little bit of a community doing it together. I think
Yeah.
that's cool.
So we'll figure it out. We don't know what it's going to be called next month. Okay, next we post the video to YouTube, so if you miss it, you can always catch it there. And you're seeing why do we do this? You never answered the question. Why do we do this, Jake?
Oh,
Why do we do
so
Thursday?
I thought Lee just answered that.
I kind of answered it.
Sort of.
Did you want me to answer it? I'll answer it too.
Better answer.
Here's the real answer. We can't. We want to. Here's the problem is we can't critique everybody's work,
Right.
and we want to be able to do that. I mean, if we could, if we did critique everybody's work, that's what we'd be doing sunrise to sunset.
Right.
And this is our way to at least critique somebody's work.
And have it apply to most people. I mean, that's kind of how
Yeah.
we're critiquing them. Is
Right.
hopefully you can
Yes.
get something out of it for your own.
half
Also,
of it is what Lee said. Like, it's an assignment. It's to give you real world like experience, what's expected of you, and the other half is to get real critiques.
and I would add to that we end up saying the same things over and over again about the same, about pieces that we critique. So it still applies to your work in many cases. So even though it's not necessarily your piece getting critiqued, there's a
Yeah.
lot that you can learn from it. So the
Let's
next,
get into it.
yeah, I want to show next month's prompt before we do,
Oh yeah.
because I'm proud of this one. This next one's mine, and it is the reindeer got the flu, so Santa used ... Okay, so
I love it.
thank you.
It's so good.
Interesting.
So Aaron's idea was to do a redneck Santa, so I didn't know how that would go over, so I kind of toned it down a little bit, but it could have been really fun.
Just give them red overalls.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the prompt for next month,
And is it actually going to be on the third Thursday, or does the dates work out for Christmas and all that stuff?
I believe it does. You know what? I haven't looked at that yet. Let's just look at the calendar real quick.
It's the third Thursday is the day Star Wars comes out. I don't know.
Is it really?
I've got tickets. No.
You know what?
We had a
We'll figure
question
it out.
from Mary asking about is it a book cover or illustration? This one's just an illustration. Is that correct?
That's right. And it could go for children's book, or it could go for just a portfolio piece, whatever you want to turn it into. So we'll look at the dates and make sure that of when we want to do it, because it is December. So we'll check it, and then we'll put that up on the blog here. So that's on the front of our website. Okay, Lee, you are going to start us out tonight, right?
Yep. So this one was my, excuse me, this was my prompt this month. So I thought I would lead off and show some of the work and talk a little bit about the process. Are you guys seeing my screen okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So this one was, for those of you guys not familiar with it, just tuning in. The assignment this month was a book jacket of Edgar Allan Poe stories. The only rule was it can't just be a portrait. It needs to have some kind of concept in it, and it needs to have, excuse me, a place for a title and other things that go along with the book jacket. So that was a prompt, and I thought it would be a fun way to get into a different kind of illustration. And sure enough, after I gave this assignment, it started appearing on the blogs. A lot of confusion. A lot of people haven't done a book cover before, which is exactly why I want to give this type of assignment. It's different than doing a spread from a book where you're just given the text and you're just illustrating the scene. A book cover needs to say a lot of stuff. It needs to be a really striking image. It needs to be needs to jump off the shelf. It needs to say enough about the story where people can understand it but engage the viewer. And there was a lot of confusion around that, and a lot of people kind of fighting the image, and that is awesome. We got some great samples. Before we go into the honorable mentions or the top half or whatever you guys want to call it, I want to show you guys a little bit about, I guess, a little technique for, or conceptual techniques for book cover images. For those of you, because I know a lot of people ran into trouble when I was saying make it conceptual. A lot of people didn't know how to make a book cover conceptual or what that even really means to be conceptual. And there's two huge techniques. There's a million techniques you can do for a book cover, but there's two that I found over and over and over and over again. And I just want to show you guys some samples of them because I'm a big fan of showing other people's artwork, especially when it's as successful as a book cover like this, Lord of the Flies. So isn't it awesome?
Yeah.
The first technique that I wanted to point out that you see over and over again, pay attention to these in the bookstore if you got a good bookstore near you, is a silhouetted shape with a separate scene on the inside that kind of, feels like the interior of the book. I found an example of this over and over, and it worked every single time. And it was beautiful. I mean, it was awesome. So many different samples of this. I mean, I didn't even have to look that hard. And I found a lot of different versions of it. Isn't that gorgeous? So it's so good because it gives you the really quick read. Look at this like you're 50 feet away in a bookstore. This is what this book cover looks like. Super easy to grab onto, right? If I zoom in, then you get the payoff of whatever the interior is.
Mm-hmm.
And so this technique it works every single time.
I just did a book cover. That's what I did.
Nice. It works every single time. And I look for little things like that. They're little tricks that, like, you get a book cover job on Friday and it's due by Monday, and there's no time to do a ton of concepting. I'll go like, okay, what can I throw into a shape? And it's a great one, and it works every single time. Like I said, this one is so good. I just wanted to pause on it just for a second because it kind of meshes the other technique I'm going to show you in a second. Which is a shape or some part of the image becoming something else, which that'll make more sense once I'm showing you those. But this is just awesome because you got the exterior shape of the tiger and then his stripes becoming the forest. I mean, whoever came up with that is absolutely genius.
This illustration was by Ollie Moss. I don't know if you've seen some of his other poster designs.
I haven't.
He really is taking this whole type of thing to the next level.
Can you type that into the chat? I want that name. I'd
Yeah.
definitely be interested in seeing a little bit more. Look at this
I'll get his website too.
cut paper sample. I mean, like I said, this technique works every single time. So I know some of you guys are going to probably say, well, why didn't he show us these like right in the beginning? And then we could have been off to the races immediately. And I'm going to give you the reason behind that. You're not going to like the answer. The reason is because I want you to struggle and then to be given answers, and it's such a good technique. I learned that technique of education from, I was in Kung Fu for about 4 years, and our teacher, who was really great, he would walk us through about half of a maneuver, and then we'd have to fight, and then you get kicked in the face, and then he'd say, well, let me show you the rest of it. And all of a sudden, you're very, very vested on what the next piece of information is. So for those of you guys who struggled through this month and couldn't come up with something, this is why it's so good, because now you're probably the light bulbs are going on in your brain saying, oh my God, I could have done that with mine, or I can shift mine, or whatever. It's kind of a painful way to learn, but it's an effective one.
Okay, so devil's advocate, if everybody's doing that, then is it special?
It's a start. I mean, I think it depends on the concept. You don't want to just go, okay, I got my book cover technique. But I think it's a way to start because a lot of people are coming from scene-based illustration, and it's just a different way to look at things. And so I say it's a jumping-off point. It's not just something to settle into and say, okay, I got my book covers, under my belt. Same with this one too. And by the way, if you could do this one effectively every time, you'll get work because this is hard. The first one's a little bit easier, doing the Shining with the axe shape. The other one was Misery, I think, but that's an easy one. This technique is hard. This one is where you've got a shape that becomes something else, and so it's a shape that's doing two jobs. This is kind of, and a lot of these are overlap. This is almost a silhouette shape too, but kind of mimics the blood splatter. This one's great. The lines of the piano becoming barbed wire. Really, really cool, and it's like I said, if you can do this effectively, it's smart illustration. It's hard to do. The river becoming the whale tail, so it's things that having a duality. So and it's real effective, and it's simple. Notice that these are really quick silhouettes, and they work really, really well too. Buildings becoming the tiger.
In the chat, Matt says it seems like sci-fi and fantasy always do the scene type of cover where you're witnessing something happening,
Something.
or like a
Yeah.
heroic pose.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, you don't want to use these as just a go-to. If your illustration makes more sense to do just a full realistic scene, I'm not saying that you don't have that, that you shouldn't do that. This is just a way to, like I said earlier, just to switch your thinking and change kind of some of the image making. This is a little bit more of a graphic design approach, but there's no reason why you can't illustrate realistic things in this way too. Isn't this awesome, this Alice in Wonderland? A teacup in her dress.
No, that's cool.
Beautiful.
This one's amazing. Look how simple this is. I really respect people who can pull this off where it's just a straight silhouette and it actually says something. It's
Mm-hmm.
really hard to do that. Here's another Life of Pi. That one's not as effective to me. I think the tiger as a boat is a stretch, but it's still an
Yeah.
interesting illustration.
I didn't like the movie.
Life of Pi?
You
Sorry.
didn't?
It's me.
Oh no, that's a whole
I'm the
other
only
conversation.
one. I'm the only one.
People have done the shadow technique a lot in sci-fi and in horror, and here's another example of it. Even though this is a little bit more, again, a graphic approach to it, the shadow being a different shape than what's casting it. Great technique for book covers. Love the plate here. It's such a simple technique. It's just photography. So anyway, again, don't just go to it as a cliche, but just a way to open up what concepts you guys are thinking about.
Now,
Without
a
further
question, Lee.
yeah.
Where did you go to find all those illustrations? Were you just searching Amazon, or
I
did
literally
you?
went onto Pinterest and just said illustrated book cover, and I literally
Oh,
I grabbed almost every one of those from the first. I barely
Hmm.
scrolled. I mean,
oh wow.
that's how quick those came up. So it wasn't like I
Pinterest.
was looking. Yeah, Pinterest is awesome. So I wanted to go through some of these. I mean, they're awesome. Just like every month that we've done, we get such a variety of images, and that's why I love Third Thursday and seeing what people are doing.
Hey, Lee, can you drag your image to the left a little bit more? It's getting covered by the chat.
Okay, hold on. Let me
That's
get rid of the chat. How about that?
well, just Mary was asking, and
Yes, thank you.
depending on the screen size or device,
How's
tablet,
that?
phone, everybody has a little bit different space. That looks great.
All right, so let me keep going. So some people did that naturally. Here's a very shape-based based one. We almost got every kind of illustration, with this many people turning in different versions. We get realistic and stylized and graphic, and I just love it. Really cool. You guys are getting a lot better. It's the work is coming up. Are you guys
Hmm.
noticing that?
Oh yeah, there's some
I've
good stuff.
noticed this is a higher caliber of illustration
Yeah, it really
than
is.
we've been getting.
I mean, these are portfolio level pieces. And some people took it upon themselves to do the back cover and the spine. That's more than I asked for.
Wow.
That's cool. Really pretty options. Let me back out of that.
We should send a link to this video to the art directors we know. Just say, hey, there's some good artists here
That's not a bad call.
Yeah.
doing some neat stuff. Just FYI.
That would be another reason to submit. So maybe we should start at least, picking at least the 5 winners that get sent to a publisher, or maybe so this
Yeah.
half that you guys are seeing, this is the top half group, or the honorable mentions, or whatever you call it.
Not the worst ones. We'll call them that.
The worst.
Not the worst.
Some of these, the reason I picked the ones that I picked for the top half were because they blended conceptual with technical prowess. There was some other ones that were technically good, but I thought were just kind of expected, and that's not going to, with as good as you guys are getting, that's not going to make the top half anymore.
Hmm.
You got to have a
Yeah.
good concept, and you got to execute it well.
That's
All right.
something that actually leads to something I was talking about with a friend earlier in the week, and that is your vision should always exceed your execution. And at the point that your execution catches up or surpasses your vision, then you're stagnating and you're not progressing as an artist.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it's hard when you're in school to really fully grasp that, I think, because people get so enamored with technique and good painting and things like that. So all of a sudden you start getting a lot of compliments, and you show people can't believe you can paint that well, and it seems like you're doing great, but there's a whole nother level, and you guys are definitely coming along and getting to that level conceptually. But you know, technique is a very alluring thing. Those compliments that come with being able to paint and draw well, you got to go past that. This is the first one that I picked, and I figured I would just go first, and we can just throw it around since I already got the screen. I don't know how to say this name. I can't ever get somebody who's just named Steve. It's always really hard names. You want to help me out? D-U-L-C-I-E, Dulcie? Dulcie? That's how I'm going to pronounce it.
You're on your own.
I like Dulcie.
What is it?
Dulcie.
So
Dulcie is how, how it looks.
they're here. Dulcie, can you? If
She
you
just,
mic,
or he, is that a male or a female name?
Dulcie. She says that's right. So female. Okay.
Okay.
No, it's Dulcie. Cool. It's a really cool name. I just haven't come across it before. I have the original version of this. Where'd it go? I've already lost it. Hold on. Was a full spread. Let me pull that back up. It was a full, or not a spread, sorry, but a back cover and a front cover. I love the back cover. I think it's perfect. I'm going to be critiquing the front cover, and I didn't want to complicate it with this other side of the composition, so I've cut that out just for now. Beautiful back cover and beautiful front cover. This thing's fantastic. The things it has going for it, the line work is really awesome. It kind of mimics that woodcut almost. Looks like maybe an etching, and I think that's really appropriate for this subject matter and this content. So I've got the one on the left is the original. The one on the right is where I'm going to be stacking my redos, and so I always like to go back to the original and see how things are working. With both of my edits that I did tonight, I love this cover. I think it's awesome. What I'm going to be more so talking about is the thinking that goes along with these covers, not necessarily fixing this artwork, because I think the artwork is great. So I don't want you guys to think this is just a technical fix. It's more so about what to include, how to control the image a little bit more, and if we end up somewhere that's better, that's awesome. Okay, so the first thing I like to do when something's really grabbing a lot of attention is I always start by eliminating, and I'll bring that back later. But to me, right when I look at it, Edgar Allan Poe's head just being right in the middle of the tree was a little distracting to me, so I wanted to see what it would look like without him there. And then I also wanted to take out the major subject matter just so I can see how the thing's laying out and what the overall graphic design's looking like, and then I'll add the subject matter in, hopefully in a way that's meaningful and helps the design a little bit more. Now, once I pulled out Edgar, and once I pulled out the type, this is just a question. I didn't know if this was supposed to, the Telltale Heart and Edgar Allan Poe has a couple of just classics that everybody knows. I started to think that was a heart. Was that supposed to be a heart? If it was, I didn't see that until the very end. But if it was, it's not enough
no, it wasn't.
to let everybody see that.
She says it wasn't.
It wasn't? How cool is that, though?
I know.
I just once I saw the heart, I was like, oh man, that is awesome. And that's one of the best things about the technique of taking out your main subject matter, because then all of a sudden you're not invested anymore, and you can actually see the image for what it is, and you don't get so seduced by that imagery. So I didn't go any farther than this with the heart, but if you want to, that maybe could be something that's really cool. Okay, so the first thing I was thinking with the type is in the original one, it's nicely done. I like how it's done, but I think you're missing an opportunity to really integrate it with the design. And I did it in a kind of a clunky way here, but I'd love for that to be part of the tree, and just let because it's so it's such an organic cover anyway. I think the type can reflect that kind of organic kind of nature. And then I wanted to put Poe back in it as well, but I wanted to put him in as almost like he's been etched. And again, I just did this real quick, so it hasn't been massaged into the scene that much. But I thought he was jumping out. Let me go to my red over here. I thought he was just jumping out too much over here. So I thought it might be cool if I don't know if this character is like kind of leaning around the tree, but maybe she's etching him in, or like carving him into the tree base. I basically wanted him to be a second or a third read. Again, when we back out, look at the difference how hidden he is into the tree here, instead of being so contrasty. So the big thing that I want Dulce to take away from this, and you guys too, is what's your first read, what's your second read, what's your third read. And again, there's a million ways to do it. I'm not saying that this is the perfect way to do it, but just to think about it, like right now, he's popping right out there as a first read. So then now that I've got him sort of as a second read into the tree, I can start adding my my other characters back in, and I had a big hole right there where the kitty was. Put the crow on the other side. I like, Will and I both were talking about this the other day, like to have your sight lines with your characters looking at your main subject matter. In this case, the crow looks really cool, but he looks a little bit awkward looking down in this direction. So I don't mind him looking off since everything else is composed so nicely. And then I thought, because you've got, this nice organic branches and stuff, you could start weaving in other things like, oops, on a wrong layer, like a kind of heart shape, all these like little subtle things. This would be a great cover to pick like 10 of his stories and weave all kinds of little stuff into the branches where people are like, oh, there's a heart, and there's the, whatever else is in his images. I was playing with the idea, and again, I think this is a great looking cover. I like simpler covers with a strong graphic design and strong read. If we were to question balance, something just real thin that doesn't take up a lot of visual weight, but something to balance it out so it's not so symmetrical, might be nice. And then the last thing I was dying for once I had all this up is just a little bit of color like that. And there you have it.
Can you speak to why you don't want it to be completely symmetrical?
No. A lot of time, it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a story about the Romans, maybe some symmetry is good, or because it has that real strong kind of shape. But Edgar Allan Poe is really organic, and to just put something right in the center, it creates weird, very even balances. Look at the shapes here. And it just creates too much stability in the case of what we're trying to get the audience to feel here.
Yeah, because his stories are all off. They're off a little bit,
Yeah, they're kind of quirky. They're definitely asymmetrical if you were to add an adjective to describe his work.
I'd probably bring up that left side where the roots are even higher on that side.
Up here?
Underneath under the swing.
Do you see the dead guy? See the dead guy?
I would just lift that.
That's a nice one.
No, I would just lift it up a little bit more so that the shapes are different. But
yeah. Yeah, I think you could do a lot of stuff with the negative space. Like I said, I just threw a swing in there and some fence. A little spot color is kind of cool. This would be the kind of cover, by the way, if I was doing this for a client, where I would recommend the client make the type shiny and leave the rest matte. And you can do all kinds of printing tricks like that too, that just go into like a real subtle, nice little feature of the design.
That's good.
So that's what I would do. Again, maybe not the best solutions, but the thinking behind it is kind of what I want you guys to take away from it.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right, so I'll go next. Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay. And tell me when you can see it. This one is by, and again, I hope I get the name right. It's like Jiri or Yiri or. You could give us a phonetic.
We have no normal names.
He is here. I think it's Yiri. Okay, so I got it. Didn't I? I said that right? Yeah. Okay, great job. This is a really fun one. And in fact, I'm gonna unmute Yiri, and if you have a mic installed, you can talk to us while we're doing this. We appreciate that, don't we, guys?
Sure.
I love it.
Yeah, chime in.
That's the best.
So I came up with now one thing I want to say before he has the worst accent. Oh, we'd love to hear your accent. We have the worst accent for you. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, and I had somebody uh, online today that I was talking about and talking to about a critique, and she said, I don't think you always mention all the things that are wrong with a piece. And I said, you're absolutely right, and the reason for that is you can really overload someone, I think, to where it becomes not constructive. And I'm actually not giving that. I'm not saying this because of Yuri's piece at all. I'm saying this in
That
general.
preface.
Yeah, I'm saying this in general that if we sometimes we want to keep it simple enough that you go away with 3, 4, or 5 things that you can work on or consider rather than 10 or 20 things. Because there's some pieces where you could probably find 50 things, but it would take an hour just on that one thing, and then the person's going away thinking, well, they didn't like anything when we really do. In fact, a lot of times when you come up with a lot of things to talk about, it's because the piece is working really well. And I think that's the case for this one. So here's a 3 things that I want to talk about. Okay, and that is that shadows need to follow perspective rules, some little bit of drawing mechanics, and color. And so let's just hit each one of those in order. I feel like that shadow should come across this area and then go up that plane of the wall and then kind of come out. And my drawing is not very good, but uh, I think rather than just having kind of a mushy, I think you can reinforce the feeling of that verticality of the wall by having it turn and make a right turn going upwards. So I would try to work on something like that. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, totally. That's a really good call because as it stands now, it just feels like it's overlaid on a flat surface instead of a three-dimensional surface.
Yeah.
You kind of get it on the doors there, how it overlaps around that, but
Hmm.
I think to really push it
You're
like
talking
you're
about right
doing in your
here?
sketch. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah, that
nice.
looks.
That's a nice touch. And so you just need to do it a little bit more on the, and that's a hard thing because this is theoretically something that you're not going to be able to shoot good reference of, and you're going to
Hmm.
have to make it up, and that's a tough, really tough thing to do. But what you might try to do is uh, try to shoot some reference and just see how shadows behave, how they fall when they hit a wall, and it might help you to draw that a little bit more accurately. Um, Jake's going to do a little draw over, it looks like.
No, it's all
No,
right.
okay. And then a little bit of drawing mechanics on the guy. I feel like his shoulders are a little bit narrow, and um, that there's a little bit more that could be done to make him look like a guy, a regular guy, where the angle where the camera is high, his head is definitely going to be larger than if the camera was at the torso or coming in mid shot. Um, but I feel like there's just a little bit more that can be done, and that is something that you can probably shoot reference for, and I think it would be worth doing. That's what I would do for this is to really, get a friend or a family member, get up on a chair, shoot them from the top down, and see what's actually happening while they're in mid stride. That's another
Hmm.
hard thing. It's really hard to draw someone in mid stride and have them look natural, like they're not posing. Um,
It's honestly one of the hardest things
it's
for
one of
me
the
too.
hardest things. In
Yeah.
fact, one way of doing it would be to get up on a high angle, maybe on a second floor or looking out a window, and have somebody actually walking across the yard and take a video, and then freeze frame it as
Hmm.
that video is playing, and then you can get a really natural pose. Um,
That's good.
That's a great piece of advice. Also, I love that you're saying to get reference because once you get this close to realism, I mean, it's kind of stylized realism what this image is. And if you look to the guys who are doing that, day in and day out, like Chris Payne and
Hmm.
those great caricature guys, they never slack off on the reference. They're
yeah.
always using it. Even to this day, you think Chris Payne could do anything out of his head. He doesn't. He gets reference for every single thing,
Hmm.
and this is close enough to realism where I'm totally
Yeah.
on board with what you're saying.
The other thing I would add too is the style of his clothing looks like it fits perfectly in the 70s,
Hmm.
and you want to go for something a little more period from his time period, you know.
So
I
what would
think at
that?
first, I don't know if it probably wouldn't be bell bottoms. It'd probably be a little bit more form-fitting pants. I don't know if it looks like he's wearing a turtleneck, but maybe if that was white, like it was some sort of white linen shirt underneath, and then it's kind of a trench coat. And Poe, when did he die? When do you guys know what time period that was?
Probably should know
I'm
that.
not an expert.
I don't-
I know the trench coat came into style after World War One, and I know Poe was well
So
before that.
Amanda
So
says 1840s.
yeah. So I would just look at 1840s style clothing and really rock that. This stuff feels a little more contemporary.
Well,
Yuri
Sherlock Holmes.
Yuri
Hmm.
says it's a scarf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So okay, and then that's a good call, Jake. I think that's period appropriate clothing and environment and furnishings and stuff like that is very important. Um, the last thing would be color, and I think that just for me personally, and you guys can feel free to disagree, but to me, warm colors is safe, happy, um, inviting. Cool colors are maybe dangerous, cold, and uninviting and scary. And so I would go in the palette. I would go cool, and and then I would enhance the areas that you want to emphasize and kind of bring that feeling up. I don't know. Is that
Yeah. That definitely changes the mood of it. That's for sure. I don't know if you go that. I mean,
well? And
overall it's kind of dark,
it's pretty
but
dark, yeah. And I would definitely go lighter than this, but it's
You may be able to bring in some warms too, just like there's a street light or something,
yeah,
which would be nice to play that little bit of warm.
yeah, yeah.
what also might be cool is like a really white rim light going on, hitting him on the back or something.
hmm
Hmm.
Just kind of a. Can I do that on the fly?
Yeah, you can. You got this, Will Terry.
Give us some key lighting.
Just have something like this coming around,
Booyah.
and then
Mm.
maybe even having like more
That's pretty nice.
some of that
See,
light
that's the
hitting.
stuff that I just want to do first thing, but it's always
I
nice to
know.
you gotta save it for the end.
But it's so nice. It's so rewarding when you start making those strokes.
Yeah.
It's addictive.
Yeah,
Try
That's
not
the
to
stuff.
go too much.
it's a really fun idea though with the the blood lettering and stuff. I think that's fun,
Yeah.
and the shadows and stuff. So
Yeah, the concept I liked. I liked it a lot.
yeah. All right, great job. So I think we're going to switch over to Jake now.
Big mix.
Jacob, yes. I have Marco. I got an easy name.
Nice.
All right, is it working? You seeing my screen yet?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I want to talk about the concept first, and I love it. This is striking. It's if I was flipping through Amazon or walking through a bookstore, this would actually stop me, and I would be like, wait, what's that about? I love the concept. I love this dominating shape and this secondary shape here. It has very good like 1, 2, 3 read. You see the dog beast thing, you see the man, then you see the crow. Um, I think compositionally it's all working except for I want this title, the EA Poe, to not be obscured by this shadow. It looks like you got the shadow going over it. I just want that popping up front, like it's not a part of the illustration. Does that make sense? And then the problems that I find with this are structural design problems. So I love the rendering, this Mobius linear style. I think it's working really cool. It's definitely feels creepy, but this is getting a little wonky, the shape here. So what you do is anytime you give a complex shape, and there's no shape more complex than any sort of animal skull. Those things are like ridiculously subtle. It's really is hard. Humans we can get away with because we can caricature ourselves so easily and everything, but when it comes to animals, you really have to kind of nail it. So the first thing you do is you build out this this box shape of what is this core shape of the animal. And what I do is I don't break it down to spheres. I break it down to actual like angled hard shapes. So this head is going to be a box with sort of like a tapered box on the front. And then what you'll want to do there, what we have here is this weird thing going on with the eye on this side. We're not sure how much eye we should see. So what you do is you start carving out in this shape. There's our median line. You always put a median, a line that goes down the center of the shape, just so that you keep your proportions correct. But then you start carving out where you want these divots to be. So here I've carved out this eye socket on this side and this eye socket on that side. And just to help understand that, I've added these contour lines here that kind of follow the contour of that shape. So these are two divots carved out of this shape. And then I've put the eyes in there as well. Okay, so that's this area. Then you have the dog snout, the muzzle, and that's going to be this really tapered kind of pyramid shape, pyramidal. I don't know which pyramid shape.
I have never heard that before, so if that's a word,
Pyramidian?
that's cool.
Pyramidian. And again, you follow this line along there just so that you can make sure that these wrinkles and these things are all following that line as they should. If you look at it this way, it's going along and then it kind of gets just mushy around here. We're not sure what's going on there. Okay, so now that we've got this structure solid and we can see the shape of this, then you can go over it again and start adding the detailed line work. And what I've added here is really filled out these these muscular eyebrow shapes on this side and on that side. And actually, what I'll do is, that was my initial drawing. I'll just do another pass for you so you can see how I build this up from these shapes. So I'll go in here and
That brow that you're doing right there really helps that
yeah.
other side.
So it's going to come up like this, and then we've got this shape going along here, so we're going to have it go like that. And we'll probably bring in something like that. And then these sort of baggy undershapes here, and then so you can kind of see how now it feels like this head curves around and you know goes around this way instead of being sort of flattened out on that side. And it's just showing enough of that you can see it. And then you can go in here and you can start adding this kind of stuff, and make sure you're following this line so that everything stays nice and symmetrical to the shape. And that's really how you want to approach these complex shapes, is to build them off of really basic structures. You can go in there and add nostrils and all that stuff. Right here where this shape attaches to that shape, that's a good opportunity to show how these how these shapes come together, and you might just like taper off the line work like that and show that it feeds in right there. You know, maybe you add some more stuff like that. Then you add your ears, and now you've got yourself a really solid design for your dog head. Okay, so that is that.
Now let me throw a wrench in there because there's some chatter about like, you know, some of these odd details like three toes and four toes and things like that.
Mhm.
And with the head drawn a little wonky, like, you know, you see styles out there, you know, like Beavis and Butthead. I always go back to them, you know,
Yeah,
where the
yeah.
emphasis is on like poor drawing, and that's a multi-million-dollar piece of property. And so
Hmm.
why why can't you do funky stuff?
I think what you've done here is you've sort of made a contract with the viewer that everything where's my everything outside of this circle, this whole area is going to be drawn really nice, and this is going to be really wonky.
Hmm.
I think, and Lee's, we've said this before in other videos and other critiques, is if you're going to go wonky, you have to be consistently wonky.
Okay.
So the fact that it's not consistent, that this all exists on the right plane, you know, and this
And
stuff is
the
all,
guy is so well drawn.
yeah, the guy's so well drawn, and he's on the same plane as these feet. Everything's really like working, and then all of a sudden this area here just gets
Yeah,
just
it's a good
gets weird.
point.
Okay, so there's that. One last thing I want to add is back here we've got this area back here. Everything's got line work except for the background, and this is where the line work just fades away. And I think it'd be nice to just keep this line work going. It doesn't have to be as dark as this, but still keep it here. Uh, uh, this line work looks nice, and it works for the rocks under here and everything.
Hmm.
So I say add it to all this stuff here and just have it be consistent. And I think what it does is it gives a nice holistic feel to the whole piece.
Hmm.
So that's all I have for that. Unless you guys have something else you want to add to it.
One thing about anatomy that I'll just throw out there for you guys. At least I've noticed that dogs growling, their ears immediately go back. I mean, it's almost like it's all one motion. I've never seen a dog growl without the ears going back, even
Mm-hmm.
when they're playing. And so that might be a important detail.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of feels like they're back to me, but
Does it?
you
I mean,
could
you know what I mean? They
you
actually
could
kind of
force
fold
it.
down. You know, like if you
Yeah.
think about a German Shepherd's head when they're barking or growling, man, they just drop. I've had German Shepherds my whole life. That's the only reason I know
Mm,
that.
it's a good. Those are good dogs.
They are great dogs. The other thing I was going to say is he feels. I'm on the fence about this. The feet of the dog just being so parallel and flat. Would you advance one foot maybe to add energy there, or do you like it better just being flat?
Yeah, that's a good point. And to be honest, I've been so distracted by the other stuff, I didn't even think about that. And that might be a good call to just to have like this foot be back like that, maybe.
Because it shows advancing, and that's kind of a cool little
Yeah.
detail.
Or you could, maybe have one.
One coming up, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Oh, I
know.
like that one.
But the other thing too, though, is it does mirror what's going on here.
Yeah, they're
You
in a
know.
standoff kind of, and so I
Yeah.
kind of like that.
Yeah.
So there's a
Anyway.
question. There's also a question about the highlight on the nose.
Mhm.
Just a shiny nose.
Yeah. That didn't bug me. I thought this right here is like the focal point, and so this is the area of the most detail, the highest contrast, lights and darks. So I really don't have an issue with that
Color
highlight being so
saturation.
hot there. Yeah, or that saturation.
Hmm.
That's great. I love the color balance on this.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really nice. All right.
All right, Mr. Lee, let's
All right.
kick it over to you.
All right. All right. All right, this one is an easy one. This is Susie. Really beautiful, beautiful piece here. Hold on. Oh, wait, there we go. Again, I'm going to do it side by side, but I thought I'd just zoom in and show you this close up. Really elegant looking piece. I think it feels very formal and it feels very period appropriate. So that's why I was drawn to this one. Really nice looking image. This one was tough for me to critique because it's a kind of a design solution. There's some realistic painting in there too, and it's kind of wonky. So it's living in my world definitely, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. So I thought I'd walk you guys through. This is kind of an unorthodox critique because I didn't know what the hell I was doing at all, and I'm going to show you that awesome, confusing process. um, the first thing that I was questioning, just looking at it straight up, is the value right? I thought immediately that it looks a little washy, that it needs a little bit more contrast no matter what. So that was just, and I'm just kind of just thinking off the top of my head. Portrait being really dominant, and then once after I said that, I was thinking about kind of the emotional impact of this. Like, what would I think if I saw this on the shelf? How does this artist want me to feel when I look at this? Sorry for my chicken scratch type, but I was just kind of scribbling. And to me, I want to say this in the nicest way possible. It's drawn well and it's designed really well, but I'm bored. It's exactly what you'd think it's going to be. It's kind of that ornate kind of Victorian design. It's the portrait of Edgar Allan Poe that we've all seen before. There's the raven back there, and so I feel like we just weren't given enough. I think this illustrator's got the chops. Susie definitely has the skills to go a little bit deeper. And again, I'm not sure if where I'm taking it is the totally right direction for her, but at least it opens up kind of the thinking around it is like, what can you give me for Edgar Allan Poe that I haven't seen before? And so I feel like we're living in a beautifully designed but a little bit cliche world here. So I get rid of my subject matter. That's always step one for me. I don't know why that has started to dominate my work, my critiques, but I get rid of the subject matter first. It lets me think. And then I thought, well, wouldn't it be kind of cool to put old Edgar into the scene and see how he's working? But I didn't know if that was going to work at all, so I just drew a little quick thumbnail sketch of him back there, and then I started thinking about some of the other stories that go along with him. Again, the Telltale Heart, for those of you guys who know that story, I haven't actually read it in a long time, but he puts the dude that he murders under the floorboards, and some cops come in, and he can hear the heart beating from the guy, and it's driving him totally crazy. So I thought it would be nice to allude to that story because it's a subtle one that we can kind of hint at without using the iconic heart shape or something like that. We can actually allude to the actual story. So I drew a little symbol of a hammer here and broke up the floorboards a little bit. So next step is just kind of sketching him in there, see if it's gonna work. And I was doing it while I had this one up, and I liked the portrait being big here, and I think it was losing something. But this one to me is more fun for the illustrator to kind of dig in and do some illustration work versus this one where you're just kind of collaging, like I said, the well-known elements of Edgar Allan Poe together. So I started to think about maybe some lighting coming up from the cracks in the floorboard. Then I just kind of mimicked the size relationship of him here. I love him being too big for the room and just kind of accentuating that super wonkiness. And then once I had that, I took away the hammer because I thought it was too heavy-handed, because in the story, the guy is trying to get the cops to leave, and he doesn't know if the cops can hear the heartbeat through the floor, whereas he's just panicking. And so I thought it'd be nice to just have a couple little hints at that by having the nails there. That somebody's in the floorboard, but there's not going to be anything out that's a murder weapon because it alludes to the story. Then I'll throw a little bit of lighting in there, like maybe it's not a monster or anything under there, but we need to add a little bit of drama and to have some fun illustration-wise, throw some lighting in there. The next thing that once I got this thing working, and again, I wasn't actually working this big, I was working pretty small like this, trying to just see overall, kind of what's working. Once I had all the lighting and stuff, the rest of it started to feel just a little bit flat to me. So I thought, you got this gorgeous stuff here, but there's nothing accentuating that depth. So I just turned on some shadows, just real quick on a multiply layer, and then
Yeah.
brightening up that headline. But to me, this one, in terms of an illustration, just as somebody who likes to paint and draw, this one excites me a lot more than this one. Again, there's a million ways you can go with alluding to the Poe stories and including a portrait of Poe, or maybe not even including the portrait of Poe. But again, Susie has the chops to pull this off, and so I just thought I'd throw that out there. What do you guys think?
I think it's great. I think what she's was doing. I guess what really got me when I first saw this was it almost felt like a Harry Potter cover.
Yeah,
like
I can see
a
that.
Mary Grand Prix piece. And what you've done is you've taken it from a collage to an actual scene, which was nice about those Harry Potter covers, is that it was an illustrative scene, but it still felt like
It had that layering.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Cool.
a lot of different directions you can go with it, but beautiful work, and I appreciate all the little details and the design work. Really, really nice.
Yeah, I dig it.
Great stuff.
So, Will, you're up next.
Okay. Let's just getting ready here. Okay, let me grab this. And here is this our last one?
Yeah. These things always go by so fast.
Okay, so this one's by Matt. And
You sure that's how you pronounce that?
I was like,
M-A-T.
scared for a second. Did I miss? So this was great, and this was the color is really nice on this one. I really like the color, and I like the lighting, the idea of that sliver of light kind of coming into the room. The three things that I think could make this better, the three main things, would be value, detail and finish, and then structure. And so just hitting each one. Value, I feel like it's a little too dark. Now that's a judgment call because it might not be for this. So I don't know what you guys think, but in general in illustration, when you do something this dark, if they get dot gain on the press, it can go even darker, and that's one thing that art directors will worry about sometimes. I don't know. What do you think, Lee?
You want to explain dot gain just real quick for people who aren't familiar with that term?
I'm no printing expert, but from what I understand, because they separate it into a screen and actually print with little tiny dots, that if depending on the paper that they use, if the ink absorbs into that paper more, the dots will swell a little bit, and the whole image can go even darker than you intended. So
it's important to know. It's important to know that and to talk to your client and the printers, because
Yeah.
if something's going to go to newsprint, it's really going to gum up. Anything that's 70% or darker is going to really gunk up, and so you got to back off those shadows. If something's going to be printed real high end, you can hold all those shadow tones. So it's important to know where their end's going to end up.
So and basically, I think you get less of that problem when you're printing on a coated stock, but when you're printing on uncoated,
Correct.
yeah, because on a coated, it's like printing on a hard surface that's like glass. Basically, the dot will just stay there, and this is probably TMI.
It's like printing on dedicated paper for an inkjet versus not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I just lightened it up a little bit, and I don't know. That's probably where I would go with it. Is probably in that range. That might be a little too light, but the neat thing is if you turn it into your editor or to your art director, if they want it darker, they can simply adjust it down a little bit, So that's an option. The next thing is detail and finish, and so I just looked in, and this might be a little bit of a design thing here too, but and maybe these are out of order. Let me grab this one next. I drew on top of your background. Let me zoom in on that just a little bit. I feel like it's a little bit too blurry, and I know what you're trying to do. You're going with with the atmospheric perspective and the rule is that objects that are closer to us have crisper lines, and the further they go into the distance, the lines tend to blur. I just feel like in order to do that accurately or well, you still have to it's really tough. You still have to craft those edges really well and blurry at the same time, which is very difficult to do. And so I just crisped them up a little bit, and gave it a little bit more structure. The other thing is, if these lines are this blurry right here, then in the foreground right here, on this windowsill, you're definitely going to need a little bit more structure there.
Hmm.
So, this windowsill, this definitely needs to be um, more crisp. Another thing I felt on this one, and this is probably a judgment call, but I feel like I don't really understand how this window works. Um, I feel like the edge of that window should come in here or something like that.
I think it's a door. Is it a door? No.
I don't think so.
I thought that line at the bottom was a sill or like a door threshold.
So then
Yeah.
that's the problem right there is you don't know and I don't know and we need to know.
Right.
So if it's a door,
Matt says window to the ground.
window to the ground
Yeah, that's not coming through.
from referencing, and so if it's and it could be that it's architecture from a place that I'm not familiar with, and that's possible. I would just, I don't know. What do you think, Jake? Would you fill that in
Yeah, I'd fill it in.
and make that a windowsill? And I would
Yeah.
probably, instead of having this end right here, I would really show that this this curtain kind of comes down behind here somehow.
This is another thing going back to what's appropriate for the period, and they just didn't have the technology back then to make glass that was that big.
That's that big. That's a good
If
point.
if it's an open window, then you're going to want to show the window open. The panes are folded in or folded out. Usually they would fold in.
Yeah.
Um, but you've got everything else is very much to that period. The frames, the
And
ornamentation of the
and that's where,
chairs
and I
and
would bet
everything.
that Matt had really good reference, on the chair.
Hmm.
Well, we can't see that right here, and on this picture frame. Um, this shoe is very convincing. This head is really well drawn. So you have all these things that are really, really well drawn. And then when we get over here, it goes into another realm like that's the part that really didn't have a whole lot of reference and we're kind of making it up as we go along right there. And and just to take it to the next level, again, Matt, this is a really, really nice piece. And but we have to go, you're setting a precedent right here. You're saying this is my quality level. Look at these hands. This is what I'm capable of right there. So
Hmm.
all of this has to be done to the same level.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the next thing, which is I think let's see. Yeah, so design wise, I threw that in there. You've got this space up in here that's not being utilized, and you have this the bird's feather right there and the tip of the roof kind of hitting at the same spot. So, just maybe think about where you can utilize space and put buildings and stuff in there. Um, and then the last thing would be structure. So I'm looking at, again, I'm looking at the level of finish that you have on the face, and I'm looking at the crow, and I'm saying they don't match. The face is really highly rendered, and the crow is really painterly, and I think you need to get to build some more structure into that crow. So I just kind of
Mm.
quickly just kind of the crow is so interesting to draw. The feathers on a crow are amazing, and you can have a lot of fun and really build in a lot of detail just by throwing some of that stuff in there. And then the last thing is I'm looking at, again, for structure. I'm looking at these skulls, and I'm looking at this chair. And you got to remember, you've got this structure right here where this chair comes like that. And so this chair is pointing in this direction right here. and then this arm is pointing in this direction right here. And if I were making a chair with skulls, I would orient them, so that they basically follow that line. So that line would then become the center line, and so you would end up with eyes something like out here, and then your teeth would come over here rather than,
Mm-hmm.
and the same on this side. This is your center line coming down around your face, and then your eye line. So you have eyes and teeth over there. So they're going to be both pointing in different directions rather than they're kind of angled in. I don't know. Do you guys see that?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with that level of drawing, you're right. The details start to matter. And some of the stuff is just so fantastically drawn. Yeah, I mean, any little lapse in that you're going to notice. Look at that little sculpture that's on the bookcase back there. I keep looking at it. I kind of want it. Where did that come from?
Yeah,
That thing's awesome.
Yeah. So
for real.
I think
I need that.
I would assume that Matt's kind of assembling from a lot of different pieces of reference, and I would just encourage you to go further and make sure that you get good reference for all of it. And if you ran out of time, I totally understand. That happens sometimes where you're trying to rush it out, and you got the most important elements in there. Again, we picked it for a reason. It's a really, really nice piece.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Okay,
All
so
right, can you give me the screen again? I can show the winners, but I also wanted to go over one more thing. If you're done
yeah,
with
yeah,
that.
yeah. And I don't know, is Lee frozen up for you on the webcam?
Yeah.
But
You
is
click
my
your-
Just go
click your
out,
camera
go
off
off the
and on.
webcam for a second there, Lee. You look like you're deep in thought right there.
I am. I've been sitting here for 20 minutes.
I was like,
Motionless.
is he not caring at all what I can't get him to crack a smile or anything.
No, I'm just straight faced. That's my Zen look. I wanted to just briefly go over, because you guys had to deal with type for maybe the first time. If you haven't had a graphic design class, you need to go take one. Probably it will help you throughout your whole career doing websites and doing things like Jake's doing with doing books and laying stuff out. One thing I wanted to talk about is a little thing called kerning. I'm not going to go into a big type lecture, so don't worry. But I just want to point out something. If you just type out the word top, as in top half, what ends up happening is you get a square that each letter basically exists within, right? And what happens with that, just by default, with an uppercase T and a rounded shape like this that has a lot of negative space here, is you get this super awkward distance between them. And so if you have a word like top, you need to select the other word, the other letters, and move them in manually. Because anybody who's taken even a type or graphic design class 1 will see that error, and it's a big one, because it just means you typed something out and didn't do anything with it.
It's mechanically spaced versus manually spaced.
Yeah. I mean, you can see it typically happens in these uppercase letters, like a P or a T, and then a rounded shape next to it, but like an A, and that happens a lot. So a T and an A next to it, or a P and an O.
A and a V.
Yeah, and so it just happens a lot, and so just pay attention to that if you don't do anything else with type, and go back and look at your own titles and see if yours kind of ran into that problem.
That's a good thing
So,
to mention.
without further ado, I already showed one, but do you want to give me the drum roll?
Okay, we still haven't gotten the sound effect on that. I'm gonna put that on my list of things to do.
That was great. All right, our top 3 for the November Edgar Allan Poe Challenge is Dulcie,
Mm-hmm.
Marco,
Mm-hmm.
and Matt.
Awesome.
Great work, guys.
Okay, so
Confetti everywhere.
I also want to mention there was a little bit of chatter about Yuri being critiqued again, and so I just wanted to go over that and clarify that. So you can be critiqued multiple times, but you can't win multiple times. So just want to throw that out there, because we have the 2 extras that don't win. So when we do 5, so there you go.
No foul. No foul.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, you guys rocked the critiques today. That was good stuff.
So did you, Mr. Jake Parker.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was
So
good.
we want to thank everybody for participating. It really makes it fun for us. Obviously we want to draw attention to our website, but at the same time, this is what we do and this is what we live for is art, and it makes us better by trying to figure out what we would do differently.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Yep. So keep submitting and keep posting to the forums.
Yep.
Live your dreams.
Stay on the ground, but keep reaching for the stars.
That's right.
That's what we should do. Just keep coming up with the corniest parting words.
And we'll see all our rainbow winners next week. What do we call them? Our gold star rainbow top half winners.
All right, it's time for us to quit.
All right. Good night, guys.
Bye,
Good night.
everyone.
Bye.